or don't like it, learn to love it because it is the best thing going.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. Along with my partners, Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson, and we are brought to you by Moments on the Maury. Need looking for a weekend getaway in spring or summer? Check out Moments on the Maury, located just outside Lexington, Virginia, and owned by a very proud Hokie. Great place to go fishing, kayaking, just relaxing by the river right out the back door. You can check out the links in the comment section or the Instagram page, Moments on the Maury. Everybody back in the house tonight. How is everyone?
Look at us, man. Look at us. I'm cold, bro. I'm cold. It's an ice rink in my yard.
Yeah, ditto.
Not a joke. Not a joke. How has everybody survived? Because it got as south as Huntsville. I know it hit here in Richmond, Shelton. I'm not sure if you're in Richmond or back in Williamsburg. It hit everybody wherever we were sitting, but it has been extremely cold and extremely nasty for the last 5 days.
Yeah,
it's been cold here.
Gross. It's been gross.
Go ahead, Alec.
I was just saying, got cold here, but I mean, we had like a little light dusting, but nothing compared to what I've been seeing. And then our neighbors to the north, Tennessee, they got hit pretty good. So thank the Lord we didn't have nothing that really impeded school and caused us not to. I think we kind of shut down one day for work, but nothing for real.
Sean, what about you, man? Are you down in Williamsburg or are you back in the RVA currently?
Yeah, I'm back in Williamsburg. Been traveling a lot. We went to a place called Dunn, North Carolina, a couple weeks ago.
I know about Dunn.
We know about Dunn.
Okay, well, it's not a place I'd recommend to put on your itinerary, but
I agree with you. But I mean,
I was not sad to leave. No offense.
What was wrong with Dunn, man?
North Carolina.
He was done with Dunn.
It's
I was
literally
little sketch, but
okay. Little sketch redneck town, a little off 95 in the southern part of North Carolina.
Okay,
that's
you
what
said
it is.
sketch and redneck. Two things I don't need to be a part of.
Hey, good old Harnett County, baby.
Good Harnett County. Not a lie, man. Not a lie.
So, yeah, but I've just been working. We'll start up with baseball season here pretty soon. Excited for college baseball to be back, just like that. So yeah, things are good.
Good deal. And staying warm, I hope. No power losses, anything like that down there.
No power losses. I feel like the storm was maybe blown a little bit out of proportion, at least depending on where you live. I know, like Tally said, some of them got hit pretty hard, but we were mostly pretty good. Like there wasn't a ton going on here.
Yeah, for here and down there, y'all, you're 50, 60 miles east of RVA. It was a perfect scenario, a perfect case scenario, because the snow that came through on Saturday night, Sunday morning was the dustiest snow I think I've ever seen in my life. Living in Virginia. Usually, Virginia, we get wet snow. It's heavy. It hangs on trees. You could throw it up. The kids wanted to make snowballs Sunday morning. They're trying, and I'm like, y'all, it ain't gonna make snowballs. Like, ain't no water in it. And then the subsequent sleet and ice. I mean, Brian said it. My driveway is a ice rink. It's great to sled on, because Monday night, me and the neighbors here, we all got out there. We were drinking some Angel's Envy and Hottie Toddies and sledding down the hill. Had the big fire pit going out front here, Brian. Man, hey. all the boys and the wives came out, so it was a good time.
This week so far, we've already had 2 kids from Wide School come over for sledding. I mean, Curtis, I got a nice little slope in the backyard.
You got a good slope?
It's been good sledding, man. They've had a good time with it. I did want to throw some fun facts at you since you threw. We got a Dunn reference out here. We're talking about Harnett County. Raise your hand if you are a Rhett and Link or Good Mythical Morning fan. Anybody in this house? If you are, that's where they grew up. So fun fact there. Right in between Raleigh and Fayetteville there. So
Oh,
fun
south
little
south
jaunt.
south of Benson, North Carolina. Played that. I frequented at least once a year as a child for some things down there with horse celebrations. It was always a good time. This weekend with weather, I hope the snow misses, Randall. Seriously, man. I'm done with it. I'm done.
I anticipate at least another 3 inches.
I know. But then it's going to be normal. It's going to get warm again, and hopefully winter's freaking over because I'm done with it. And I'm sure Shelton, who's going to be doing baseball shortly, is done with it because I don't know how heated the press boxes are or where you have to be there in games. Cold baseball games are just – and Tally, look, he's shaking his head because he sat in a mini with his son. Cold baseball games suck.
It suck, man.
Suck.
Baseball is not supposed to be played in the cold.
No, it's not. It's supposed to be played in either the hot or the nice, not the cold.
Yep.
Tally, our boy Will's here, and he wants to know about mullets and tight end play.
I like mullets, man. I like mullets. I think we should put cowboy collars on all of them and give them some numbers in the 90s or something like that.
Some numbers in the 90s.
Cowboy collars and then tape their knuckles.
Tape the knuckles.
Then we got Robbie making the 3-inch reference here. So
3 inches. Oh man. All right. So what are we getting into tonight? Well, we got a few things to unload. Well, we are going to talk about the schedule. Don't worry. We've dissected it. We've made decisions. People have been texting us, asking us what game is we going to. First of all, it's January. Them decisions ain't made till like summertime. What my bank account looks like. We're going to talk about the additions to the portal because we had that huge episode 2 weeks ago, but we had even more portal entries from Tech, or to Tech, I should say. Going to talk about the rounding out of the staff. From Tech 2. A couple guys left. By the way, look, you know where Devin Alvis went? Devin Alvis went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
He went to Hawaii. I transferred.
You know what? I mean,
do what you got to do.
Weather-wise, he's got the right idea. Everything else, not so much, but
yep. And then we're going to talk about the rounding out of the staff as everybody's seen over the last few weeks. Effectively, the last 3 guys were named, so we're going to just hit on those. But we are going to start off tonight with Shelton. Shelton had not been around for a couple weeks. He'd been traveling. He spoke at his alma mater last time we were together. But if y'all have not read his article on the key play that he put out last week, great article. Great article, and we're going to give him
right there. Go ahead and hit that if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet.
Yeah, check it out. Subscribe just for Sheldon's writing. It's well worth it. But we're going to give Shelton a little corner here, give him a little time to talk about that article, what went into it, because it is really good, and it raises a lot of points about the state of college sports and football, and college football specifically. Go ahead, Sheldon.
Well, thank you all. It is a free article, by the way, so you do not have to have a subscription to read it. So everyone checks it out. But it was something that had been on my mind for quite a bit, and I was glad that Indiana won the title to vindicate my thesis. So really, I start with a rhetorical question: why not Virginia Tech? Why not us? Indiana's won a national title, and so the simple question we can ask is, hey, why not the Hokies? And I think fans of all programs could be asking the same thing. Like, if we have the right investment, if we have the right leadership, why can we not win a national title as well, or at least compete for one? Certainly. So I start off with the following. You look at historically, Indiana's national title is completely unprecedented in the context of who they are as a program, not just in college football, but also in pretty much all of the major college sports. And we'll have a graphic up here in a second to show that. But first off, they're the first program to win the first Natty since Florida in 1996. That's a 30-year drought. That's the second longest drought among all NCAA sports. I believe there are 38 championship sports, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, this stuff does not happen, especially in the sport of football, which is so, dominated by, a handful of select programs. And you look at the worst ever championship winning programs. This is the 5 marquee sports, the 5 most watched sports, football, both basketballs, baseball, and softball. They get the best TV rating. So I looked at all the programs that have won a national title in those sports and sorted them by the worst win percentage. You can see there, Indiana, the worst team to ever win a national title,
Yeah, and it's interesting because this wasn't a product of the playoff, right? This wasn't a team that stuck into a playoff and got hot and made a run. This is a team that was consistently good throughout the duration of the 2025 season and capped it off by winning the whole thing.
Yep.
I think that's the big thing, because this is Indiana we're talking about. It's not like, they snuck in because they had a few good wins here at the end of the season. And, it wasn't a situation like the, ACC potentially had, where you might have some team that probably didn't deserve it representing you in the playoff. It wasn't any of that scenario. They were on the field and on paper the best team in college football all year, and then they won it all.
Yeah. That's one way to think about it. But Sheldon, I think you're right, because what we've had really the last 3 years is different. Because go back year one, Michigan won a national title. Michigan hadn't won a national title since 1996. Sheldon was not alive yet. Me and Tally and Brian were causing trouble in middle school. Ohio State the next year, and everybody goes, Ohio State's great. Ohio State hadn't won a national title in 11 years, right? Right? They hadn't won a national title since 2014. Indiana had never won a national title to where we're putting it that. In Miami, they played in that title game. The last time they played in a title game was close to 24 years ago. I reflect back my time as a youth and thinking about the early 90s, and that's when I cultivated my love for college football. 90 was Georgia Tech and Colorado. Neither had never won it.
Right.
1991 was Washington, had not won it. Skip 92, go 93 was Florida State. 94 was Nebraska. 95 was Nebraska. Nebraska hadn't won a title since the 70s, since the 1970s, 20-plus years. Then you mentioned there Florida in 96. In 97 was Michigan, but it had been forever for Michigan. And I think what you're saying is we're back into that stretch again where everything seems level. And as we look just at the Hokies this year into what, Tally, you're probably going to talk about, is stockpile on talent's gone. You know why? The kids want to play. The kids know they're going to get money from schools. So are you going to sit for 3 years behind somebody and you're not going to get paid? That is one thing that is going to happen. They might pay you to get you in the door, but after a couple of years, they're going to be like, you're not getting $600,000 anymore. Where
I was going to say that the big thing that like with that is that, you got teams that used to could throw what, 50K it's a kid a year, and they'd sit behind somebody else, whether back door, front door, side door. They'd sit behind someone for 2 or 3 years because they weren't getting that anywhere else. Now they can go and get paid 100, 200, 300K to be a starter for this other team, and not that 50, 60K that they were getting to be a second or third stringer behind another 5-star.
No, facts. When Shelton started reading off, like he was saying, he was reading the running back room from Alabama. I think it was 2016. And I was just saying you could go look at most of their positions, but definitely running back from 2014 to 2017, something like that. And it was just, ridiculous. The ridiculous amount of talent that they had and were able to stockpile in those rooms. And like Sheldon said, they won't be able to do that anymore. No school, because nobody's going to sit and wait, number one, but also going to not go get paid because they can go to the school down the road and get paid more money and probably play and, get their film and get, live out their dream. So why not us? Great job by Sheldon. When I read that, it was I wouldn't say it's exactly what I was thinking, but once I read it, got me to thinking a lot about what could be and putting things in perspective, seeing it on paper. It's like, I could see if we take the right approach and do this thing the right way, why couldn't it be us? Because nobody knew who Kirk Signetti was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. They might have knew who he was, but really, who knew who he was? Now he's winning national championships.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Curtis mentioned Michigan's title. Yeah, I remember thinking a couple of years ago before they won that, I was like, think about how broken college football is, where a program like Michigan, who is objectively one of the biggest brands in American sports, has not won a title in 30 years. And we feel like, and we almost kind of look at them like this kind of plucky underdog. I think the issue with college football over the past couple of decades is that it became so regional. It was all in the South. It was all the SEC. And we can talk about, the reason for that. But now we're seeing it's becoming more national, and it's about, again, leadership, getting the right guy, and you still got to have the boosters, you still got to have the donor base, but it's not defined by, geographic proximity of talent or having the right boosters or having the brand or the prestige or playing in Death Valley. It's not about that. It's just about having the right people. And so I think what I hope that we can, have going forward is more of a meritocracy where, again, James Franklin's kind of showing the results. He flipped a horrible recruiting class into a top 25 high school class. He's got anywhere from a top 10 to top 20 transfer portal class. I haven't checked the numbers recently. I know they, kind of fluctuate based on the site, but he's giving you the results. We've got the players. We've just got to develop them and keep them. And if we do that, I think really, really awesome things are capable of being accomplished.
Hold on, I'm gonna get it up for you just so you know aware where they are with the transfer rankings. A few days ago, it was pretty high. Oh my god, it's gonna be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Efforting.
And I also, so while you're doing that, I will also say one more thing. I know that people look at Penn State as a very high profile program, and certainly they are. But I don't think the gap between Penn State and Virginia Tech is as deep as people think it is, or at least some people think it is. Certainly not the Nittany Lion fans. They're in some ways they're actually pretty comparable. I mean, they're both very small towns, not particularly near anything. A few hours from the major metro areas. They both got a very football-centric, passionate fan base that's got good money, but not elite money. And they've historically both played second fiddle to the top two programs in their conference: Michigan, Ohio State, and for us, Clemson and Florida State. So when we look at it that way, I think it's a pretty comparable fit. So I don't think that what Franklin did at Penn State is he isn't capable of achieving that here at Virginia Tech.
And apparently, we have the better airport.
We have the much better airport, and we're closer to a bigger airport with Roanoke Regional, 35, 40 minutes down the road. Currently, that transfer class is 6th on 3. And I like 247. I love Matei and all those guys, but I don't like their rankings because their rankings never account who went out. What Virginia Tech brought in is so much better than what they put out. Like, you got to look at Penn State, their high-end talent's gone. They brought in all those Ohio State players, which they're good football players, but nowhere near the ceiling of the Penn State guys that Franklin brought down, and some of the other guys he brought down, like a Hilson, because that's I think that's Tally. That's your kind of prime point, right? Even though he was at Missouri, Hilson was a borderline, super high 4-star, almost 5. He's not getting playing time, so he just basically said, "Okay, they're going to give me money. I'm probably going to start.
Yep,
I'm going there."
Well, the way you can look at these rankings is you can look at 24/7 Sports as having basically the raw in numbers, right? Like, so we're 18th nationally in terms of just the players we're bringing in, but we are, well, what'd you say, third, fourth?
6th.
Okay, sixth in terms of net talent in the transfer.
Net talent gained. Yeah. Guess who's number 1?
Who's that?
Guess who's number 1?
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah.
I was going to say Texas Tech, but
If you got in the hot tub time machine and you went back 5 years and you seen yourself and your buddies watching college football and you said, "Hey, I'm from the future and Indiana's going to be the team to beat in 2026." How do you think people would have looked at you?
Yeah, stared at you cross-eyed. And you're going to tell them they beat Penn State, they beat Ohio State. Who else did they beat? They're going to beat Alabama,
Miami.
They're going to beat Miami. I'm missing one. What was the other one? And they're going to beat Oregon. Oregon twice.
Killed Oregon.
Killed Oregon the second time by 30. Could have been 50, but it won't. But
nobody would have believed it.
But to Sheldon's point, as we kind of close this up before we move on, it's like, why not? You're 100% right. We are now in an era with Indiana winning, with it looking like you can be anything, right? You don't have to be the traditional blue blood. You don't have to be the constant solid school. You can be anything and potentially win the title. And to a point, we can hate them all we want, but to the point with Miami getting there shows you if you can just get in. You can have a couple boo-boos during the season. Just get in. That's all we ever wanted. I know as a fan, I still believe that 2005 team. Sheldon, you were little, but boys, I still believe the 2005 team could have beat anybody in the country that year. Anybody in the country in 05.
Yeah.
I would say the 09, not to get sidetracked. I would say the 09 team. They're actually one of the more slept on BT teams. Statistically, they were the best ever.
But the whole thing is, we look back through our history, and you feel like for 15 years there was like, if we could have just had a chance to play 3 games in a row, right? Just give us a chance to play 3 games in a row, we could probably beat anybody in the country. So there we go. Sheldon, great article. If y'all have not checked it out, go to the Key Play find Shelton's name. Why not Virginia Tech? Great article. Read up on it. Now, let's flip it over, because to get to where you want to go, you got to have a schedule. And that schedule dropped just the other day, and I'm sure everybody's seen it, and I'm sure you've been picking it over too. But just to highlight it real quick, start September 5th versus VMI at home. Then the next week, Old Dominion, then Maryland, and then it's a 9-game ACC slate. At Boston College, Pitt at home, Cal at Cal, Georgia Tech at home, Clemson at Clemson, SMU in Dallas, Stanford at home, Miami down in Miami, and then finally Virginia at Lane Stadium for the Commonwealth Cup. So I'm going to ask my crew this. Were y'all completely shocked that they didn't double tap us for long distance road trip back to back?
They like James. I knew he was good. He is the darling.
They said they bring you some star power to the ACC. We're helping them.
He is the darling. We're going to be the darling of the ACC Media Day, so I figured they was going to show us a little love. We just need the players to perform now. Get a little love, perform when it's time to perform.
Brian, were you shocked? Because the way the schedule's set up, we have 4 extremely long road trips this year.
I was very concerned. I mean, and it's one of those things, you lose a home game and you get a long road trip added to the schedule in place of it because of the going to the non-conference games. So automatically you're like, all right, they're gonna fuck us some way on this. And the way things were kind of stacked, I was like, we're gonna at least get one of those back to back, or like coming off of a Thursday game into a long travel the next week. So you have a travel Thursday, you get the half bye, but you still got back to back long travel. Didn't get any of that. I'm really pleasantly surprised. And another thing that we can talk about too is that we've got a lot of talented but younger kids that are coming in with this transfer portal class, with the way a lot of this roster on the non-retention side is stacking up. The schedule ramps up pretty slowly, where you get time to gel before you really get into the meat of the schedule. So that also bodes well for a team where a lot of the core is going to be on the younger side.
Yeah. Sheldon, were you shocked that they didn't back-to-back long-distance road trip the Hokies this year?
No, honestly, I wasn't really thinking about it. Honestly, I'd be curious to know, if the schedules has some level of computer generated randomness, or if they're actually picking every game. I generally don't know, because I know that in pro sports typically it's kind of it's like a computer that does it. So I'd just be curious to know that, because if there's someone is actually behind the pulling the strings, what kind of biases would they have towards certain schools. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly it's a pretty solid schedule. You obviously don't like having to add on SMU there, because that's gonna be a tough game. But I mean, you got Cal. That'll be after a Friday night game, so you got an extra day there to prepare for that one and travel. So that's good. SMU, don't know if that's gonna be Friday or Saturday, so TBD there.
That's coming off a bye. Either way, that's coming off a bye.
Yeah. So
So you to your point, you've got an extra day for the Cal trip, and you're coming off a bye for the SMU trip, whether it's Friday or Saturday. So you're going to have plenty of time to prepare for it. I was shocked, because I remember what they did 2 years ago. Remember what they did 2 years ago? When they sent us to Miami on a Friday night, and then the next week they sent us out to Stanford.
Yep.
That's what I fully was expecting. You're going to go to BC, and then you're going to go to Cal the next week. So screw y'all. Even with that being said, look it up. Tech is going to travel the third most miles this year of any ACC school. The other 2 ACC schools are the Western schools. So they are going to be on a plane a ton, but I was a little bit shocked. So I'm going to be interested to see how that all plays out, not having things like that to be as roadblocks for this team this year. All right. VMI, Old Dominion, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Virginia. Shelton Moss, give me one word to describe those 6 home games.
Whelming. I mean, I don't know if it's underwhelming, but whelming is that? I don't know if that's a word.
I don't know if that's a word either, but I like it a lot.
I'd say I'm whelmed. I mean, I like Georgia Tech. That'll be interesting. I got a lot of thoughts on VMI, Stanford, UVA. Like it's just it's a pretty forgettable schedule. Like it's you're not going to remember a lot of these games. A few years from now. Like whelming is a word.
What's your take on VMI? I know you got some heart in VMI. Just wondering.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm a VMI fan, so I add the disclaimer there. I was not a fan of playing the game just because I think first of all it'd be a loss for VMI obviously, but also it's going to be a really really uncompetitive matchup. Like even an average FCS team will be able to challenge VT more than VMI will. I mean, this is going to be a 1-11 team that's going to be losing pretty much all of its best players from last year. New coaching staff coming from a D2 school. Remember that VMI can't really get transfers at all, hardly. It's going to be a bloodbath. And I just don't think a game like that does anything for VT. I know they want to start the Franklin era with a win. I think relative to the value of keeping the JMU game, I just disagree with it. I understand their thought process of let's get an easy win and kind of get the ball rolling here. I just prefer that game not be played. I know there's some tradition there, but that's my opinion.
Hey, it is a tradition. It's why Skipper was made. Tally, one word for that home slate.
Dubs.
Okay.
Wins. That's what we gonna get. That's what we need. So that's part of whelming is a W.
It is part of
that.
whelming.
Yeah.
Brian?
Before I give mine, I'm gonna give a little props to Shelton for inadvertently quoting Gabrielle Union from 10 Things I Hate About You. So bravo.
I didn't even know
that. Me neither.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said it was inadvertent. I was absolutely certain that was inadvertent. Lackluster, but I think that might be a good thing. When you look at what we got here, to Tally's point, Pitt's probably going to be the toughest home game. If just looking at what they were able to do last year, kind of some of the things that have happened on Georgia Tech's front from an overall staff and roster standpoint, Pitt's probably going to be the best team we play at home. That's not knocking Virginia. I'm just not going to give them props until they show me they can do it more than one fucking year. So there we go.
All right. What I'll say is affordable. Because if you want to get to some home games in the first year of James Franklin, it's not that slate where people are going to go nutso selling the tickets. If that Clemson game was at VT this year, at Tech this year, buckle up because that thing would go through the roof. And as you get the FSUs, and if the Miami was a home game this year and we did anything of the sort, you wouldn't be able to get it. So for everybody out there, I'm being very cost conscious. It's affordable. If you want to go see James Franklin in his first year at Lane Stadium, I don't think you're going to have to pay through your nose. You'll have to pay a good price, but not through your nose like it could be. All right.
Nice. Shout out to Curtis for standing up for the working class. I appreciate that, Curtis.
Standing
up
for
the working class. You know what?
Definitely directing that towards me.
We might all be able to go to a game again at the same time.
Right.
The way the schedule shapes. Maybe. All right. So look at the schedule and just kind of glance through it, boys, as y'all are looking through it. What game, and I'll start this one with Tally, what game with where it's at on the schedule do you just fucking hate? Just like, why is that got to be right there?
It's not so much of where it is, but how it is.
Okay.
The SMU game, just because I was thinking about going to Dallas, but then they hit me with that flex bullshit. And it's like, it's going to be expensive for me to go to Dallas anyway, right?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I need to be going to be there for a Friday or a Saturday. Just give me a date, man. So that game,
it's very personal with Tally.
yeah, that game was
personal.
yeah, it was next before it even started. I was like, oh, I'm done. I can't do that flex stuff. You know what I'm saying? I need it to be a certain day, but yeah, probably that game was the one I looked at and it kind of threw me off a little bit just because of that. Not saying I care if we play on a Friday or Saturday, but it's just like I needed it to be a definite one for that one because when I looked at the schedule or heard, seen who we were playing, it was like that was probably the place that I wanted to visit the most, trying to get to a home game and an away game this year. And that's not happening.
Brian?
Which one am I most excited about? Which one?
No. Tally's mad about the way that game is scheduled because he can't make fucking plans. What game and where it's scheduled do you hate? He's not hating about anything for the team. He just hates, he wants to go to Dallas to the game and they done screwed him. It's very personal with Tally. It's not even about the team.
It's very personal. I get that.
It ain't got to be about the team. It can be about personal. It can be about the team. But what game with where it's scheduled do you hate?
I'm not a big fan of having Miami and Virginia back to back. You're gonna be up, you're gonna be high for that Miami game. It's on the road. Win or lose, that there's gonna be a lot of emotions. There's gonna be a lot of effort expelled in that matchup. I know you get a bonus day between the game that you wouldn't get otherwise, but having those two rivalry games back to back, that's a whole lot of juice to use in 2 weeks.
Shelton, what game with where it is on the schedule do you absolutely hate?
Well. Yeah, I'd probably go. Well, see, nice. Tell me. I mean, I guess Clemson, SMU back to back. That's gonna be pretty tough. Granted, we don't know how good Clemson's gonna be, or a lot of other teams, frankly, for that matter, just with the volatility year to year. But assuming that Clemson's got a solid team, which I think they probably will, playing them on the road and then having to go back potentially on a Friday night. So again, potentially short rest. And then
No, it's not short rest.
That's right. Yeah,
that's a bye week.
Yeah,
well, I'm having to change whole thought process.
But that changes my answer. So I gotta change my answer. I mean, honestly, like Curtis, like it's not. I really don't have an issue too much with the structure of the schedule. Like I think it's pretty favorable.
He probably hates that VMI game because he didn't want to play.
He hates the VMI game. There you go. He already protested his hate for that. But I think Shelton, you're right. Like it's not too much that you could say about the schedule where it's like it's stacking back to back or anything like that. I will say this: I don't like where the SMU game is. I would, after playing Clemson, regardless of the result of that game, I would want to be right out there because if they go down to Death Valley and win, it's the wave of emotions, right? But if they lose and it's a tight game, you also get right back on the field. Like you just played with a team has a lot of talent. The next team you play will not have enough talent. You should be able to beat them. Instead, if there is momentum going after that game, it's going to effectively be killed by Halloween. I'm going to put my hands up. So I don't like the way that's scheduled. I'd rather have fucking Stanford after Clemson if there's a break. So that's where I am.
You don't get to ride the highs, and you don't get to be
if you lose, get right back on the horse.
Either. Yeah,
exactly, 1,000%, Ron. All right, last one here. We always talk about stretches of the season. What is y'all feel the toughest 3-game stretch, whether there's a break in between or not for this team? Brian C. Gala.
Toughest 3-game stretch. 3 games. I'm gonna have to go that Georgia Tech through SMU, regardless of the bye weekend there. I know I caveated earlier that Georgia Tech probably isn't going to be the team we saw this year in 2026. They're still going to be a solid team. They have a very good head coach. I think they're going to be every bit of a upper tier ACC opponent this year. I just don't think they're quite going to have the singular talent at the quarterback position, and I don't think they're quite going to be as deep as they've been these last couple of years across the board. So you got them. You know Clemson's going to at least have another top 3, top 4 ACC team heading into 2026, and SMU's probably going to be right there as well. So you're talking about at least a top 5 or 6 ACC opponent, followed by 2 top 4, top 5 ACC opponents. So
Clemson's using the portal for once. They got double-digit players out of the portal this year.
You know how mad Dabo is right now. Dabo,
I have to adapt. I can't launder players through my church.
Have y'all been seeing him talk about the
recruit
that went to Ole Miss?
Oh yeah,
he been mad, dog. I'm talking about went down a daily routine of what was going on. At 4:15, he went to class. At 4:16, he used the bathroom while he got a text message. He about to shut this thing down by itself. He ain't playing. He ain't playing with that tampering stuff. Shout out to Dabo for snitching.
Okay.
Shout out to Dabo.
Sheldon, I'm gonna let you go next. What's the toughest 3-game stretch?
I'd probably say, honestly, I might go Cal, Georgia Tech, Clemson. Just because, again, Cal, again, they may not be great, but if you're taking a 5-hour flight, it's potentially, if it's a night game, you got the Pac-12 after dark vibes. Spooky things can happen. Those are always just very weird vibes games that can kind of catch you off guard. And then Georgia Tech, I know they lost a lot from last year, but they've still got a good coach. And again, like I said, Clemson, we haven't beaten Clemson since 2007, I think.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And maybe they have a bounce back here. Like I just that's type of stretch, especially like mid-October, where you're kind of testing your depth chart. Because I don't think we don't know if the Hokies will have a particularly deep team this year. That's where you kind of really sort of see what your team is made of. And I think that's the kind of spot where typically some past Tech teams have kind of wilted away. So we'll see how all plays out. But that's one stretch where I'd be a little bit concerned.
That's a stretch too, Sheldon. To your point, like if I could look at this schedule the way it's stacking up, and you could see potentially if things go the way you want them to, Virginia Tech going into Clemson with an unblemished record, or you could see them going in there with 2 or 3 losses. It really just kind of depends on how that second stretch runs. So to your point, that's a really important stretch for them, especially as those injuries set in.
All right, Tyler, what about you? Toughest 3-game stretch?
I would have said the first 3 games, but Sheldon just told me all the reasons why VMI is not going to be any kind of threat.
No.
You still have to show a certain style of win in that game when we play them. But I'll say ODU, Maryland, and Boston College. And the reason I'll say those games is because if you don't have the foundation set for what people are supposed to expect from Virginia Tech and James Franklin, things are going to look a lot different for the rest of the year because we know how the fan base will turn on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't care about no high-profile coach. They don't care about stars or none of that stuff. People want to see wins. And then I'm talking about people who are paying. So it's okay to roll out a great plan and, hey, let's raise money to do this and let's do that. But if we go out and we don't win these games, those first 3 games, you got ODU, who is Ricky Rain has shown that he can coach. Yep. I've never known anybody on his teams, but they always find a way to kick our ass or, make it a game. So I'm sure he's going to put a team together that is going to be, somewhat competitive. Then you go to Maryland, which is who we're going to be fighting with for recruits, in that area. And the last time we played Maryland, we remember what that looked like. Nobody cares who played and who didn't play. They just remember what the score was. And then you go up to Boston College,
Long
we
flight.
never know. We never know what we get when we go up there. So those 3 games, because you should be 1-0 going into those 3 games, and then it comes down to finding out what kind of team we really have. Because if we got a lot of unknowns. I know we're gonna get a little bit into the different rooms and things like that, but in my opinion, everything's unknown with this team. Everything is brand new. There's a lot of potential with minimal production. So that's where we need to see what we have, and then that'll tell me what we're going to do against Clemson or what we're going to do against Miami and later on in the year. But we got to start off on the right foot. So those 3 games.
You kind of stole my answer, because I do think it's the first 3 games, because how they fire out, and I know Shelton, you've already said VMI is not a good team. Cover your ears, Shelton. I want to see them hang 60. I want it to be a bloodbath. I want it to be crush a soul, and then the next 2 games same way, because that's the momentum, right? Regardless who you're playing, those first 3 games, if they go out and just knock the crap out of those 3 teams, and you're 3-0 going into Boston College, first ACC game, they're going to come up on game day, and it's going to be like Virginia Tech's 3-0, traveling up to Boston College, place where they have problems. You're going to start getting mentions. You kill VMI, but then struggle in those next 2, but get wins. Is this same old crap? They can't. They get to a different team. So I think the first 3, because you want to come out guns blazing, and putting people on notice. When I say James Franklin, Ricky Ronnie's his boy, right? He coached with him. James, if we up 42-10, you better try to get 50 on his ass that last quarter.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody, I can't remember who it was, may have been Quest, and they was like, I don't think that they're going to try to, if we get up on ODU, I don't think they're going to try to run the score up. I said, Ricky got fired, came in his house, drunk all of his Kool-Aid, kicked over his barbecue grill, and then told him he wasn't paying his rent, and they come and escorted him out. So I don't think it's a world where if we up on ODU that they're gonna be like, we need to rein back. No, pretty sure they're gonna want to kick their ass. I know Pry is. So I think with what my boy say on Remember the Titans, you blitz all night.
Blitz.
Leave no doubt.
Leave no doubt. So there's a schedule, and just our quick takes on, some of the pieces of how we feel and all that fun stuff, because it is a long time away. Now, let's just hit a couple real quick things before we get to talking to the portal and then the coaches. But y'all saw it announced a little earlier this week. The ACC title game is no longer going to be a night game. So, Tally, you got to remember that now. It's not a night game anymore, so you cannot drive the day of from Huntsville to Charlotte, because we know that's a legitimate drive you can make in a day. You can't do that no more. But what y'all think of it? Like, this is the way I remember the ACC. Brian, me and you sitting in my college apartment, hanging, slinging beers at noon and 1 o'clock, getting drunk, watching the ACC title game, include Miami the first year, because that was a 12 o'clock game and we beat them for the ACC title. What did you think of it?
I think it's a solid move. I think having a solo, a prime spot in the slate for those championship games is a good showcase for the conference. I think that's a better showcase for the conference than sharing a primetime spot. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what the ACC does with it, whether they continue to capitalize off what Miami was able to do this year, and as to whether that really matters long term. But it's nice to see getting a slot that I think makes sense for the ACC when you're not competing against the Big Ten or the SEC for those eyes, and you can kind of marquee the teams that have done well in your conference for the year, especially after, like I said, what we saw with Miami this year.
Talking about not competing and getting those eyes too. What you think about the potential of 3 Friday games? Are we a high school team? Or are we just trying to get eyes on it?
Can I get eyes? Because those Friday games, even the ones when we're not playing good teams, it's still upper 1 million's close to 2. That Friday game against Miami 2 years ago was the third highest watch game all week. Like the only 2 games, it was like Georgia and Bama were like that next Saturday, and then a Big Ten game was it. I'm fine with Friday games. I also like it too that if they play it right and you get a Friday game before like effectively a big game, you get that 1 extra day of rest and prep. So I like it.
Let me throw this out there. Is Friday the new Thursday with the NFL having the Thursday night slot games now?
Yeah.
Yes, we're all shaking our head. Absolutely. Sheldon, what about you? Do you like the move? Does it make it easier for you? Harder for you?
I'll be honest, man. I do not care at all. All I care about is 2 things. 1, that it's in Charlotte, so I can eventually go to it, and 2, that we're fucking playing in it. That's all I care about.
There we go.
For real.
Love
They can play at 9 in the morning. If we there, I'm gonna be there with my shirt on, my areolas painted.
With the areolas painted. There we go. Let's fucking go.
All right, let's talk about the portal before we get into the new additions to the portal. Kamara and Morgan, the edge that was coming out from Baylor, unfortunately could not meet admissions. Therefore, that's the story, right? He couldn't meet admissions. I want to say that's the case because he has not committed anywhere else.
There was a credit conflict.
Well, it makes me question what does Baylor give their incoming freshman football players the first year? Because if my kid's going to Baylor and he's a good player and he might play good or get eyes laid on him for the second year, better put him on some classes that will transfer.
Basket weaving.
Ain't nobody.
There wasn't a hold up for Kyron Drones, so.
Yeah, but Kyron had been there 2 years. Remember that. Kyron had been there 2 years.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
You got to at least take like Econ 100 by that point in time. But yeah, it's a loss, right? It sucks because that kid looks like a beast in every shape and form. So
yeah, I was like, we said it last time he was on there. I think the very next day is when the news came out. Like he was the guy I was most pumped about from the transfer portal on the defensive side. Now I will say we'll talk about in a second. The ultimate pivot that we got off of that is about as good as I could have hoped for.
Not a lot. Tally, Sheldon, I know you have not been as deep in the recruiting world, but so if you need to abstain, you may abstain. Tally, any feels before we get into these the guys who are here in class running and pushing weights?
I try not to get too hype about it, right now. I need us to, I need to see who really gonna be here before I get too hype. But I was bummed whenever we lost the Baylor D, and I was pretty bummed about that. But like Brian said, the pivot was kind of cool and it was quick too. You know what I'm saying? It was like we didn't wait a long time. Okay, James, I see you got a little juice. I like it. They said James only sleeping about 3-4 hours a night. So, hey, man, I get it. I need you to stay happy, though, man. Take your wife out. Call Cheetah and see what he did a little bit.
Oh, geez.
Don't be just like him, but, still go out every now and then, enjoy your wife. But James has been working. He said he ain't got no hobbies. All he doing is working.
Football. All right, I'm going to put 2 things in the chat so y'all can chuckle. First of all, this is clearly what Kamara Morgan was taking at Baylor. And then, you know what? Laszlo's got a strategy here. You got a kid that you definitely want to keep.
Don't let them play.
Put them in classes What 15 classes at Tech doesn't transfer? These. That's what you take in the first year.
Shout out Laszlo.
Shelton has to go here in a second, but Shelton, just, give me your just quick overall take, because the portal is officially, if we're not done, it might be one guy at it, but that's not looking like the case. But just I know you've been busy, but just following it, what's your overall take on it?
Yeah, so my overall take is really just from a roster construction standpoint. The one thing that I really like that Franklin did is, stock up on some younger guys with multiple years of eligibility. We see lots of freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores in there. So I think that's a really good, kind of long-term development move. Obviously, Franklin's talked a lot about, still wanting to be a developmental program. I think the mistake that a lot of, coaches, and this is true for all sports, I've heard some coaches say this, is that, they very much over-rely on the portal. And so they take a bunch of guys that, are older and more experienced, but, they've kind of hit their ceiling. And when those guys leave, if they don't have, more than, 1 or 2 years of eligibility, you've got to replace those holes the next year or the year after that. And so if you take guys that, one, are talented enough, but also, can be in the program for multiple seasons, ideally 2 or 3, you're able to, I guess more effectively rebuild because you don't have to you don't have to constantly be replacing those holes. So I like what Franklin's done so far. Obviously, you got Gronk at quarterback, Quayshawn Brown from Duke, the wide receiver. I really like him. I'm very happy with that pickup. I think he's going to be a stud. And overall, they could do a little bit more on the lines. But I think just kind of overall, it's really just to stock up on talent. Kind of get the baseline level of talent up to where it needs to be competitive in the ACC. And then hopefully after that, in the years following, that's when you really start to kind of get the guys you want from high school, develop them, and then they'll be rolling here. But as a transitional class, I really like the portal additions.
I can't hear you, Curtis.
And he's back. Say it again.
I will jump in here while Curtis is getting his mic straightened up. I liked what we're doing from the portal, from Shelton, to your point, because we're basically resetting the 24 and 25 recruiting classes to the James Franklin level 26 class that we saw come in being a top 25 class. Just from an overall talent standpoint, from what they were coming out of high school. Now, when we look at what that means long term, Sheldon, to your point, it means that you don't have to go and get a bunch of headhunters every year and get into this churn of needing a quarterback every year from the portal, needing a left tackle every year from the portal. You don't get into this point where you're having to reset the same positions, the key positions on your roster every single year. You've got a foundation that you can build on for 2 or 3 years. Now you can get your high school recruiting in line, start backfilling those positions, and eventually you get to a point where you're only having to kind of plug in a couple holes here or there from the attrition that you have from your roster going into the transfer portal.
Yeah, man. I mean, roster management, it's a big deal. Like, I think, we know Fuente struggled with it. I think Pry talked a good game about high school development for the first couple of years, but it seemed like that last year he kind of really over pivoted towards the portal, like bringing in 30 new guys. And it just didn't work out. So I think Franklin, to kind of, this will be the last thing I say before I head out, is I think Franklin's taken a good approach of long-term focus, but we're going to upgrade our talent level to where it's competent in the ACC. And so, like Brian said, just plug holes where we need them going forward. But for a transitional class, we as a baseline, I think they made some really solid additions.
Perfect. Well, Sheldon, we know you got to be up early in the morning, man. Appreciate you jumping on for the hour that you could. Again, check out the article at The Key Play, written by Shelton. Why not Virginia Tech? We'll see you soon, man. Take care.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Later. All right, let's talk about this because, Brian, you made it point. I don't know if Grunk's doing it. Right now, I do not want Grunk to be interviewing with anyone.
Yeah,
go find what the offense is, go win, and then come talk to us next year.
I mean, I'd say if we're giving interviews before the spring, that's probably a problem.
That is a serious problem. All right, let's go talk about the 4 guys that we did not get to talk about last week and where we stand with them. And instead of going one by one, let's just talk all 4 kind of at the same time. Let's talk about, Brian, you mentioned this guy already, Sam Okunalola, the edge from Pitt by Colorado. Justin Terry, not Curtis Terry, Justin Terry.
Finally, we got it right, Curtis.
The offensive tackle, out of Ohio State. Then this one came out of nowhere. Curtis Jones from West Virginia, the kid who did everything. He played linebacker. He played edge. He played running back at the end. But he saw Rich Rod was bringing like 60 guys in, and he was like, this motherfucker's stupid. I'm getting out of here real quick. And then finally, the last Penn State guy, Tyseer Denmark. So, Tally, we'll kick it to you because Brian kind of already buried it. Which one you most excited about of those four?
Probably Terry, just because, I mean, we heard about his name early in the portal process. And that's what we needed the most help at. I think it was Chris. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Lester that was talking about by May of this year, we would have been brought in 18 O-linemen, which is crazy compared to, I think we hadn't brought in 18 O-linemen from 05 to 2025. We have been very scarce on recruiting linemen. And especially at a high level, like linemen that play at a high level. So we don't know who's going to pan out. Of course, that's why you pull people in and hope people develop to get better. But we have a lot of people that have the opportunity to show what they can do when you bring in, 18 offensive linemen. So we need it. So I'm probably most excited about him.
What about you, Brian?
Sammy Sachs, man. Sammy Sachs.
Sammy Sachs.
Samuel Okunlola.
It was a great when Morgan left. It's like, oh man, that kick. But you said it. What a pivot.
Yeah. This is a guy that when you watch his tape, I mean, he pops, man. Had some pretty decent production at Colorado. Has had some good production, throughout his college career so far. I'm really interested to see if he could take kind of that next step to become that premier type pass rusher. But I mean, he's a guy that, when you watch the tape, he definitely stands out. He's got really great burst off the line of scrimmage. He's going to give guys problems with that speed rush. We'll see if he can kind of develop a second move or be a little bit better all around with that. But for a guy that is your pivot from the guy that was considered to be the jewel on the defensive side of the football in your transfer portal class, that's a pretty damn good pivot.
Well, yeah, it was a great pivot, and I mentioned Jones, I think, a couple weeks ago about how getting him in here would be good, and Sammy's great, but I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Curtis Jones, because are they going to put him like at an outside linebacker role in this defense, or are they going to put him at edge? And the thing is, he is a football player. He is a football player. How do I say he's a football player? So he played 12 games, 23 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, including a sack. He also rushed the ball for 11 times for 3 touchdowns. That guy loves football. And that's what you want bringing in here. So I want to see, clearly he has some athletic ability. He's like 6'2", like 235, so he's kind of undersized at edge, but does he have a role? He's the guy. No disrespect to Denmark. I think Denmark could be an excellent wide receiver, but I think those 3 guys that are coming in, you talked to Sheldon was talking about how he kind of leveled it out. Those 3 guys, I think we expect you're going to likely come in this year and you're going to play.
Yeah,
you're going to play, and that's big. All right, let's get to it real quick. We're going to go through each room over the next, I'd say, 10, 15 minutes here, maybe less, and we're just going to say how we feel about the depth of that room. 1 is the worst, 10 is the best. If we land on 1 or 10 for anything, I'll be shocked. But I just wanted to do this because I think probably next month at some point, we're going to probably build a depth chart and say, this is how, if everything in a perfect world happens, this is how it's going to look. So let's start with the quarterback room. By the way, I'm going to shout out TSL, all the guys over there. Will, David, guy who's been on here a lot, Chris Coleman, they put a hell of a list together with literally everybody who's in, everybody who's out on their website. It's unbelievable. It made it really easy for me. I didn't have to put something together, which I thought I was going to have to do. But let's start with the quarterback room. I'm going to start with you, Tally. Where do you feel depth chart? Wait, where are you though? How do you feel about the whole? But how you feel about the depth? 1 to 5, 1 to 10.
I would say probably about a 7. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd probably say about a 7 on that.
All right, Brian.
I'm going to go right at the 7 as well.
All right, I'm going to go with a 5. We know Grunt can play, but it's behind him are the following: redshirt freshman, redshirt freshman, redshirt freshman, freshman. It's Grunk and the freshman 4 behind him.
Curtis, I'm going to ask you one question.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
Let's look at all of the rosters in the Power 4. Let's start with the Power 4.
That's 144 teams, man. 144 players.
All right. So all of those guys, when you look at their depth charts, how many of their starters beyond QB1 have seen anything other than garbage time?
Well, I don't know. I have to look at every single roster.
But like in your head, think about teams
I would
that you
say
saw this year.
80% of them probably do not have a solid backup.
So they're pretty much in the same damn situation we are behind Grunt.
I know. I want to be better than them, though. And there's enough. And when I say this, I'm looking at more of a Bryce is likely the number 2. But what I'm saying is I always want a buffer. I'm sorry. I'm a San Francisco fan this year. We had the best backup in the league. He had to play for 7 games. He went 5-2.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
And but the thing is, like, so Grump is a sophomore. Is he a true sophomore or
redshirt sophomore?
Redshirt sophomore this year or going into this year, right?
Yep.
All right. So he was a redshirt freshman last year.
Right.
Cool. Not expecting to play. Nobody really knew what he could do. He gets thrust into action because Drew Aller goes down.
True.
Who's their very experienced, starter. How do we know Keldon Ryan can't play? How do we know, Baker can't play? Because Virginia Tech doesn't give us an opportunity to see it in the past. You know what I'm saying? When Kyron struggled, when Kyron was hurt, we didn't play another quarterback. You know what I'm saying? We just continued to go with the same person. I don't want anybody to get hurt for us to see it, but sometimes through adversity, it builds some character. We just never seen it. So a year later, how many people probably was after Gronk? He was probably one of the most sought-after quarterbacks that was in the portal that wasn't supposed to play. So to Brian's point, we don't know what we got. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hype it up, but I'm just saying we know that we have at least a QB1 that is going to be very capable. So I'm excited about that. We're going to be able to throw the ball.
Yep.
Kyron, I love you. But we couldn't throw the ball. And it wasn't all on Kyron. We'll get into that. We'll take a whole show and we'll talk about how bad our offensive line was, how bad our play calling was to our personnel, how bad our quarterback play was. But we'll get to see the wide receivers get some passes. That's what we want to see.
All right. Let's move on to the running back room. And I'm going to start with this one. Give me a 9. Brian?
I'm right there with you. I'm going to take a 9. I mean, Overton coming off an injury as a true freshman did that. Imagine what a full offseason in the weight room is going to do for that kid. Holy shit. That room is going to be lights out. Him and Hawk are going to be a tandem. Like, I'm not going to go back and say like anything with the Untouchables or anything like that, but that's going to be a really good 1-2 punch in that backfield.
Callie?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go an 8 on that as well, just because people sleep on Hawk, man. I don't know. I ain't going to say nobody like wanted him to leave, but I don't think a lot of people really thought about him leaving or staying as much as we should have. I think Hawk had almost 900 yards rushing. He almost was 1,000-yard back.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the season, who really knew him? Like we thought, it's going to be, Stewart, or, we thought Overton, we knew he was hurt. We thought he may get in, Then we thought Bennett may be the one who catches out of the backfield. And Hawkins comes in for all intents and purposes, plays great behind a crappy offensive line on a 3-win team. So we have some potential and we have some production, which I'm really excited about.
And don't you forget about big ass Bill James, because he's gonna run through some people.
Bill Davis.
Bill Davis. Yo, I'm screwing.
Damn
up,
it,
man.
Curtis.
That's all right. It's all right.
Every time.
What did he say he had, Brian, last week?
Fat old ass, man.
Fat old ass. I like making y'all crack up. See? Everybody thinks I'm the mile
on a
man
t-shirt.
in the group. Everybody thinks I'm the mile man in one of the group, but this, yeah. And I'm just getting up the numbers here, Tally, because I couldn't remember either. 750. He averaged 6 yards a carry, though, last year, did Hawk. 6 yards a carry. Damn good. All right, let's go to wide receiver tight ends, because I want to bunch them together, because I think when you – to me, I think about the outside skill positions. You can do so much where 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers are on the field. So if you start saying, well, the tight end room's not great, or it's great and the wide receiver room's okay, and it's just like, well, wait a second. They are playing at the same time doing the same things. They got to run block. They got to go out there and run routes. They got to do other things. So tight ends, wide receivers, what do y'all think about that room, Tally?
Curtis has said he's going to put them together. I'm going to separate them
Oh.
because I love tight end. So I'm going to say tight end room, give me about a 7.8.
7.8.
And then wide receiver room, I'm going to go with an 8. So I'll say tight end room is a little bit under because I don't think we've really seen how to use tight ends in a while at Virginia Tech. Benji had a pretty good year before last, but still we didn't use them. We weren't an offense that really used our tight ends the way that we should. None of the kind of crossing routes, none of the up the seam routes and things like that where you really use that tight end. And the reason I say you separate them, Curtis, is because yes, you do use them similar, but the tight end room, they're going to have to block. Like
Okay.
a tight end is blocking much different than what a wide receiver blocks. You think about a tight end blocking somebody like Reuben Bain or chipping him, or you know what I'm saying, getting to that next level and blocking. What's my man that played at Cal? Number 0. Like a tight end's gonna have to go block him. Wide receiver gonna have to block him. So a little bit different. So that's why I rated the tight ends a little bit under the receiver room. Because they're going to have a little bit harder time and they're very young. But I think the mix with the young players and very talented, I think the next star out of all the offense is probably going to be Luke Reynolds. I mean, I just think that he's going to be a star because of his work ethic. If you go look at what he was doing at Penn State, he's always in the weight room. He was always winning some kind of award, being the kind of a first person there, last person to leave type player. He's fast enough to be able to run, but he's strong enough to be able to block, which is what we need. So I think he's going to be a star, but having Benji come back, Benji, if you watch it, man, I love you. Your ass going to have to block. We know you can kill. We need you to block this year. You know what I'm saying? I love to see some 2 tight end sets for us to be able to get downhill, whether it's some pop passes or some up the seam passes or just running, right at the defense. And then the receiver room, I know I'm being long-winded, but then the receiver room is just, you got uber talent all over the place. We haven't, again, AG is going to be AG. I think AG is a great possession receiver. He's a 50-50 guy. He's going to go get the ball if you give him the opportunity most of the time. But we just haven't really had people that can run past people consistently and a quarterback that can get it to them when they run past people consistently for a while. So I think that we have that. I think we have that now in the receiver room, and I think that some people are going to emerge that we don't even know about in that receiver room because there's going to be a lot of competition there. So Mike said, "What's a pass?" Mike, go.
Oh man! All right,
Right,
Brian,
Mike.
what about
Yeah.
you, Brian? Oh, go ahead, Tyler. Finish up.
Nah, that was it, man. I was gonna toss it to one of y'all, but you said Brian, so I'll
Yeah.
toss it to Brian.
I'll let it ride here. So since Tally separate them, I'll separate them too. Give me a 7.5 for the tight end room. I think from a receiving perspective, this team would be a 9, but I think from a blocking, it's like a 6. And blocking, to Tally's point, is going to be the more important aspect because we're going to need them to block in the running game. We don't always need them in the passing game. We got weapons across the board in the passing game. There's going to be sets where they're not even on the field. We're going to need them in the running game pretty consistently. So that's why they get a 7.5. The wide receiver room, I'm going to give an 8. I think this is a very talented group, and Tally, you made the point there. You got AG, very good possession receiver. I think he can do some things really well. He's going to be the kind of the leader in that room. You got a lot of young talent, and then you got a guy like Kayshawn coming over that's going to, I think, be a really good difference maker in the slot there. So I think this is going to be a dynamic unit. I think they're going to work well with what we're trying to do offensively. And I think the upgrading the tight end talent, especially in the passing game, along with what we've been able to do in the portal and in these last few recruiting classes at the wide receiver position, is going to really give Grunk some weapons to take advantage of.
All right. I'm going to go at a 7 for both. Y'all made the points about the tight ends, and I think with the wide receiver room, you've got 2 guys who are pretty established with Aiden and Quishon Brown. Spring, to me, they could get quicker to an 8 than the tight end room was. Could. That's just the way I feel about the depth. The Spring has got – I need to see 2 or 3 guys in the Spring break out at wide out to push Aiden, to push Kayshawn, to really say, now if they need to come off the field, teams are like, man, the other 2 guys are just as good coming on. The other 3 guys just as good coming on. So I'm at a 7 and an 8. All right, back to Brian Siegler. Deep breath, Brian. Currently, there are 21 offensive linemen on this roster. Where do you feel on the depth of it?
6.
Okay.
I could probably be talked down to 5.5. I know I've been on record saying I would have liked to get another guard in this group in the transfer portal ahead of the start of camp and winter workouts, spring camp, all that. I would have loved to get one more guard in there to push some of these starters at the high level. I think we've got guys at the guard position that can play, but I kind of wanted to level up that position as well. Obviously, we know what we've done at the tackle position. That's, we talked about that. That's been an emphasis both in the 26 class, the way that one wrapped up, and what we did in the portal. We've shored up having a center that can play behind Altuner. I think we're good there with Troutman. It's really just, we didn't really do a lot at guard to make that position better. I would have liked to see some movement there. But
you just wanted one. You probably wanted one established guard where
just even if it's been a rotational player, just somebody that could come in and push the current starters, and try to level up that room just a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll listen to y'all more, but I think it's a 6 because I only count 7 guys that can play. Like I know can play. To get higher, I need to know 8 and 9. And right now, I only see 7 that have played. And there's a couple guys coming in like Justin Terry, like Justin Bell. Can they play? Or Lucas Austin? If you tell me 1 to 3 of those, this could get into the 6.5 to 7 range. Tally.
Yeah, I was at about a 5, right mediocre. You know what I'm saying? Just because so many unknowns there, and it's so important to, like you said, we know we got about 6 that can play or have played, but we need to be at about 9 or 10.
Always.
So, yeah, I would say 5 for now.
All right, 5 for that one. All right. Do we want to do defense, the D line, all together, or position?
Probably say all together.
All right, so go D line tally all together. How are you feeling about this room?
Say what now?
It happened. It happened. It only took 4 years. Somebody else made an appearance on here. Defensive line, where do you feel with the depth of this room?
With the defensive line, I would probably say give me at about a 7, 7.5, somewhere around there. Just because, I mean, I really think JC was taking, no disrespect to some of the players we had, but I think JC was taking, chicken shit and making chicken salad for a little bit. And I think that Chaos is going to have a lot better something to work with and more pieces to work with for us to be productive. You know what I'm saying? In the past. Now, last year was bad. I already talked to y'all about how I feel about the sacks, what we missed, and things like that. So, how many sacks we had compared to the years before. But even when we were good on the line, we weren't very deep. I think now we're going to be pretty deep moving forward on that defensive line.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm right at a 7.5 as well. I think this is going to be a unit that, if not the sole strength of the defense, is definitely going to be the reason that we're going to win a lot of games. I like what even with the we talked about the decommit in the transfer portal. With Morgan there. I think we got a good pivot there. I think this is going to be a pretty good overall defensive line. We shored up D tackle a little bit, filled in some holes there, went out and got about a good handful of edges, guys that could rush the passer. And the big problem last year wasn't even getting pressure; it was getting home, finishing those plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were getting in the backfield. That wasn't the problem. We just were not getting guys to the ground and ending the play. That's going to be the biggest thing that I'd like to see, is us making sure that we finish those plays and take care of the business once we're in the backfield.
All right, I'm slightly under, and I'm at a 6. And it's more leaning towards the defensive end room, because I look at D tackle we've seen Copeland and Fall. We know they can play. We saw Law have flashes last year. We've seen Johnson have flashes. Where the defensive end room, it's Sammy Sachs. Put that on the t-shirt as well.
Shout out Matt Neal for getting us that one.
There you go, Matt Neal. Shout out there. But there's no second guy. So I'm at a 6 right now. Now, maybe the reason, Brian, you and Tally are feeling better is like Hilson's pedigree, or Malachi Williams' pedigree. Like, these guys, we're going to expect to be good players coming out. But that's where I'm at like a 6, because I just need one more edge guy to get my bump up on that. All right, let's roll on. Brian is off camera. I hope he's still there in the background, maybe getting a beverage. Brian, what about the linebacker room? Linebacker room, a little unique. Brought in some young guys. We don't know what's going on with Curtis Jones. But returning the dog and returning the phenom.
Returning the dog, returning the phenom, getting in a really competent Mike and Keon Wiley coming over from Penn State. And then potentially mixing in some of those young talents, in particular Brett Clatterbaugh. So I'm at a 6.5 if you really twisted my arm. I would have liked to seen one more established guy, kind of the front end of that. Guys that could be in the 2 deep. One more 2 deep guy that you could really know you can depend on, has the stats, the experience to back that up. but I really like what is returning on this roster. I like Keon Wiley, and I'm interested to see what some of the young guys can do.
That's you, Tally.
Yeah, I'm right at about a 6. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty much what Brian was saying. Interested in seeing what some of the young guys can do, as well as the return talent. But I'm really excited about Caleb Spencer.
Yeah, that was a big run it back.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm at a 6.5 if Curtis Jones isn't a linebacker. I'm a 7.5 if he is a linebacker. There you go. Because I think what he would add is that, like, you've got the 3 effective starters, right? Between Noah, between Caleb, and between Keon. If you get that one extra guy, I know Santiago's still on it, but he just didn't do a lot for it last year. Maybe he steps up. But if you get that 4th guy where he can effectively rotate, because you feel like Noah can slide to Mike at times. So if Keon needs a breather, you can bring one guy. That's my thing. 6.5 if Jones is linebacker, or not a linebacker. 7.5 if he is a linebacker.
Yeah, and we still don't know. There's a couple things we're still kind of figuring out. Is Jordan Bass playing star or safety? What sort of progress do we see in terms of Gabe Williams' development? Like, there's a lot of question marks out there with the whole overall linebacker position. So we can really see that position level up just from things we don't really know about yet.
100%. All right, let's go down to the cornerback room. We'll include the nickels with there. What are we feeling on this room?
Who's going first?
You, Brian.
You don't. I'm going first.
Yep.
Looking at the guys we brought in with, Wolsey, White, Chadwick, you combine that with what we're bringing back, and you look at what we already had going on at that nickel spot. Like, I know Chris Lester's been on here and sung his praises. What I saw early from Knowledge Harrell was legit. So I think depth-wise, we're going to be able to go, 6 corners deep, and not really see a ton of drop-off. Counting the 2 edges there with the nickel.
All right, Tyler.
Probably get me at about a 6.5. I'll say probably about a 6.5. And the main reason is I think probably one of the people I'm most excited about in the corners room is coming off of an injury, Jay Cinco.
That's fair.
Coming off of an injury, if I knew he was able to play at a high level, which I think he will be, but I'm just saying if I knew that, probably would be more at about an 8. But I think that for us to be where I'm comfortable, I need to see Clark on that field. Grooving.
Did I give a number? I don't even think I gave a fucking number, did I? 7.
I thought you gave a 7.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.
I thought you gave a 7.
Yeah.
I'm see, y'all are a little bearish on this room. I'm bullish on this room. I'm at an 8 because Chadwick, White, Brown, Murray, Williams, Kenny Woosley all can play. They can play at the Division I level.
Yeah.
You start talking about if Harrell continues to show what he flashed last year, you're talking about a room that literally any combination on the field, you're gonna have good results. Like it's deep. It's not the whole, like some of the rooms, can this guy play? We need somebody to step up. Where with this room, we start turning on film, it's like, yep. All these guys can play. Do they have their moments? Yes, every corner has moments, though. Every corner's been beat. But you start seeing that, and this, if you're telling me Knowledge and Jay Cinco, Josh Clark go to where we think they can go with their ceilings,
Yep.
That room, I mean.
And talk about a room that completely flipped, because once Lovett opted out last year, like it got in the portal, that room was decimated.
It was.
And they have completely built that to a point. Like I said, when I said the defensive line, I think is going to be the strength of this defense, it's because the cornerback room has leveled up to a point where they're in that discussion.
100%. 100%. But also that gave Knowledge Harold a chance to show in flash, to say, all right, now we got some tape for you. Go clean this up, and you're going to be way up here.
Yeah.
All right.
The raw ability of Knowledge Harold is
unreal.
There.
It's there. 100%.
Yeah, and I think like his knowledge of the game, I think, is the biggest part. Like it didn't seem like he ever looked like he was lost anywhere, which you don't really see that a lot with a true freshman getting out there and getting some time. So shout out to him, and if we can see him take another step this year, that's going to be huge.
100%. All right, let's hit our last room here, and that's the safety room. And I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to be nice and gracious and give it a 5. This is one room I am completely worried about. Now, maybe having that corner room at an 8, and if Knowledge and Josh take that big step, it don't matter what the safeties do. But I don't feel good about this room. There's one guy I feel good about. His name's Quentin Reddish. He's the only guy I feel really good about.
He's coming off an injury.
Everybody's coming off an injury. That's just the way it was.
Right.
I'm at a 5 for that room.
Tally, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say a little bit more optimistic than Curtis, but not much. I'd probably say about a 6, just because I know if Q is on the field and he's not coming off of a knee injury, you know what I'm saying? If Q is on the field, I know what he brings. So I'm pretty excited about that part of it, but I was hoping we was gonna go out and get maybe another safety as well, just to have a rotation piece, and we didn't do that. So 6 is where I'm at.
Yeah, I think if I knew what we were going to get from some of these guys, because we're not bringing anybody in, right? So we're not bringing anybody into this position. We're literally talking about guys that are coming back. I think front line, we saw, Jordan Bass likes to hit people. We know that right? We know that. We know what Q can do. I think there's a lot of question marks behind that. You got Sheldon Robinson showed some flashes. Can he take a step? What are we going to get out of Sherrod Koval this year? What can a guy, I really don't know what we have beyond that. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is Sherrod Koval going to step up? Because you want at least 4 safeties that you can count on. And right now I've got 2.5. So beyond the front line, I'm concerned about depth. So it's a tentative 5 for me. But I think that if some of the young guys come on at that position, I think we could talk about that being leveled up. I don't know how much we'll see in spring practice in the spring game that'll give us any more confidence about that as we go forward. But I think it's a room that probably I'm the most concerned about on the defense, just because I think the front line is fine. I think the depth is the concern.
100%. Tally's off right there. So that's kind of where we are. And this is pre-spring with depth too. Again, a lot of this we want to see what we hear from practices, what we see at the spring game. Yes, we know it's all vanilla, but if people are looking good, if there's position changes, you never know what might take place.
Hey, Curtis, this is Virginia Tech. How are we feeling about specialists? Yeah,
feeling good. We got the boomer from the boomer mullet kid from Marshall, and you got the Love brothers.
That's right.
I mean, 10.
Yeah.
A 10 about the specialist.
As good as high as you can get, I feel good about the specialist. Give me a 10, 9.5, whatever the fuck you want to give me. I'm good with them.
Damn right. All right, let's roll on now, and just a couple more pieces to hit. The coaching staff finally rounded out with the addition.
Curtis was so happy when that came out.
God, it took forever.
Curtis about to lose his mind.
I was.
Why don't we have a fucking safeties coach? For a month and a half, that's all Curtis could talk about.
Yes, I harped on it, but it's finally done. They got the 3 final defensive coaches finally confirmed. Darius Eubanks is going to be linebacker coach. Nick Perry, cornerback coach. and Anthony Midget, legendary Anthony Midget, going to be the safety coach. And now you start looking. I don't want to get into support staff yet because it's going to be more. And probably another day between now and the spring, they'll probably start putting all that stuff up where we can really dissect it and say how good, with the exception of Warren Ruggiero. Because that makes me feel so much better about the offense as Warren is like the senior analyst on offense.
That's big. And let's talk about another thing, because this is something that I think, outside of a Sean Spencer and outside of Fontel getting his money and things like that, we were like, why aren't we going out there and spending big money on these position coaches? And it's like, well, when you see with the analysts that we're bringing in, the amount and who it is, we're spending money on this coaching staff. We're just not throwing it all at the top flight position groups, that the guys that are recruiting. We're throwing it at recruiters. We got recruiters all over the staff, but we're also got analysts all over the place. And that's going to matter big time, especially with those situational pieces and the game prep pieces that we've struggled with, frankly, the last, really even going back to Fuente. So,
no, it's true. It's true. But overall, I mean, it's set. I look at it. I'd like to feel a lot better, but I don't feel terrible. Tally, what about you? Just kind of setting the final pieces of the staff.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of what Brian said. I mean, we're spending money kind of across the board, and I kind of look at the coaching staff the same as the recruiting that we've done. You can't spend big in one place when you need everything.
Yeah,
we had to spread it out and get everything. We had to get a foundation set to be able to build on. Pry may have like cleared the land off. That might have been all he done at the end of the day. We had to go in there and pour some concrete, man. So I'm pretty excited about, not saying everything's great and we're going to be awesome. I'm just saying, for what we had to work with, I think we've done pretty good. I think we've had some pivots in that coaching staff, but I'm pretty happy with the places that I was most worried about, the trenches. I think we're going to be okay. And I think we're going to upgrade. I'll say that. I know we've upgraded on one side of the ball with the coaching. Matt Moore still being there and having more pieces to work with is an upgrade. Same coach. He's got some help to help him, and we've got more pieces. So coaching and recruiting, definitely, I'm okay with both of those.
Nice. All right, last piece before we close it out tonight. Basketball teams, 16-6?
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But I'm going to tell you what. I threw in a chat last night. I hope y'all saw it. This team makes me have to throw 2 Zens in and take a couple fingers of whiskey at the end of games.
We are the worst team in the final 3 minutes in the country.
Ever.
Them last 2 minutes, man. Them last 2-3 minutes.
It's insane. And, and amazingly, we've only blown a couple. And a couple had to be at buzzer beaters against us.
3 of them. Three buzzer beaters.
3 blown.
I mean, we've only really gotten beat in 2 games this year.
The Louisville game, which with that stud coming back, I'm not saying I expected. I wanted a better showing there.
Yeah, and then VCU coming off the wall injury.
We were talking about that the other day. Do we even count those? Because you're talking about a flip turnaround, and Lawal's your primary rebounder, defender, transition guy, and you have literally 1 day to prep, or no days to prep without
half a day to prep.
Half a day to prep, and you play St. Mary's before. Like, those two are what they are, but, I mean, like right now, I think of all those guys, they are in the last 4 in. A lot of quad 1 and 2 wins, good record there, so it's pretty crazy. But Mike Young, if you're listening, figure a way how to coach how to get a ball in on a press in the last 120 seconds. That is – everybody been saying players. That's coaching. That's understanding the players you need in. That's understanding how to set back screens, how to get the ball to somebody in a position. And it seems to me that's continuing to be an issue. To me, it's on Mike, not so much the players.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. I mean, Neo has been inefficient, but he has been particularly poor in those 3 minutes, especially with the ball handling. He has not adjusted very well to the college game and not only knowing how to press, when to move the ball, when to stop the ball, things like that. It's like he's not assertive when he should be, but he's also passive when he shouldn't be. So it's like he doesn't really know. He hasn't gotten a feel for everything, and that just gets compounded when you got a full court press at the end of games.
It's true, man. So true. All right. Boys, anything else we want to hit on before we wrap it up?
Man, it's just good to be back in here with you guys, man. It's I know it's off season. We're probably only going once every couple weeks, for the next, month or so, but it's going to be, March hits, it's going to be back into full throttle again, but I always love jumping on with you guys, man. It's always a good fucking
Always
time.
a blast.
So.
Good to be excited about football. I think one thing that we didn't talk about before we go, Curtis missed it. He kind of hit on it, but he didn't say. What games are you looking to go to this year?
Well,
I know it's early, but you got a plan now, Curtis.
I can't plan until May. I'll just pay the extra money.
I'll go ahead and tell you right now.
Yep.
I'm going to Clemson. That's going to be my away game. It was going to be
That's
Dallas.
3.5 hours for you, though.
That's not
Nah,
bad.
it's about 5. It's about
Is it
5
5?
hours.
Okay.
It's about 5 hours for me. So
He's
I
going
want
to
to
Clemson.
go to Clemson. I don't know where I'm going to stay because they already tripping about prices of rooms. So it's going to be somewhere outside of where the university is. But I want to go to Clemson. Now, the home game's going to be a little tricky. I don't know what home game I want to go to. But that's where I need some help. Chat, where's everybody going? What games we going to this year?
I'm gonna try to talk Curtis to take a road trip with me to College Park. I heard they got a really good Target near campus.
Yeah.
We shall see. Well, those tickets should be pretty affordable for that. So maybe they're I don't know. Like if you ask me right now, the game I want to go to, because I think we're going to start off hot. I think Pitt is going to be a fun game.
I was kind of
I
thinking
think
Pitt too, but
Pitt, like
is Pitt a Friday game though?
Pitt's a
Pitt's
Friday
not.
game.
It's a Friday game.
It is a Friday game.
That's the only reason I wasn't locked in on Pitt because it's a Friday game. And when I go to Blacksburg, I kind of want the whole Saturday experience this year.
100%.
But I kind of like
thing
that
about a
Pitt
Friday.
game too.
The fun thing about a Friday game is that you can go Friday, you get a night game experience, stay the night, spend all day Saturday in Blacksburg at the bars just watching games with everybody.
Right.
Go hang out at the
That's,
bars. So spend half the day, go downtown, eat breakfast, eat lunch, watch games, and then Tally, you can when it's getting close to dinner, 4:00, you can say, all right, I love all y'all, but I got to go to Bristol to gamble for a few hours before I get back to Alabama.
There we go.
So maybe that's the one. If it ain't that one, then Georgia Tech. Same way, mid-October.
I was thinking Georgia Tech too. If I
Mid-October.
do Pitt on that Friday, I was thinking Georgia Tech will be a good game to get to.
I'd circle those two games. Now, by the way, our buddy Jason, Music Man, he's thinking about going to the VMI game, like right out the gate. Just go.
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend. We'll see. I got to give it a few months. We got our schedules and stuff to go out and money. It's always about
I
money.
might be heading out of town on the heels of that, so that's why I have not committed to VMI yet. So we will see.
All good, man. Well, with that being said, we'd love to hear where y'all are thinking about or your games you want to go to this year. But let's wrap it up. This episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast brought to you by Moments on the Maury in Lexington. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Visit our website, boundarycornerbt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. While you're there, follow us everywhere you can, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel. Keep pumping that up. Any podcast source you can think of, we are on them all. Man, we just mentioned Jason Long plays us in Playing Out down in the Roanoke area, also buried in ice. Hadn't worked all week, ain't doing a thing. Robbie ain't done anything this week either. We've been talking to them. So check him out. Check his music page out, jasonlongmusic.com, where you can connect to everything he's got, including his live music schedule down in Roanoke area. We appreciate y'all all for listening tonight. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.